Okay, Lat 44 outdoor. Let's go through some car stuff. Basically, I'm going to run down a few things that are most common problems on the road. Number one, well, I guess they're a tie, would be to have to jump start your car if you have some battery trouble, and number two would be a flat tire. Battery trouble, if you have to jump start your car, you'll need jumper cables, and they are color coded. Yeah, hopefully you have a good connection. They'll be able to check these for you at an auto parts store. Usually the posts on the batteries are color coded, and that's where you will jump the car. Sometimes those connection points are somewhere else under the hood, and you'll want to look into that to save you time when you need to do it. Now this leads me to some technology that I really don't like, and that is theft prevention devices. You may be jump starting your car and your car thinks it's being stolen, and it will lock you out. Know how to jump your car without that happening, okay? And more on theft prevention devices. Keys. If you put the wrong key in your ignition, your car may think it's being stolen and it will lock you out. Know your theft prevention devices, and I would look into a backup key. Be prepared for some sticker shock on that, because I've seen the keys for modern cars go from $65 to $300. So know your theft prevention device in case something goes wrong on the road. Next, flat tires. Okay. Find out if you have a spare, where it is, and if it has air. Know what kind of jack you have. This is a telescopic jack. These are not the speediest things in the world, but they work well. There's a tool. It'll be a long rod to crank and use this thing. Maybe you'll have a scissor jack. Know where the jack points are on your car, because there may be places that you shouldn't jack your car up. It may do some damage. Okay. Getting the lug nuts off. Here's old-fashioned tire irons, and I don't know if we can see this. They may be bent at different angles, and so you want to know what will work for you if you're using these, because of the shape of your wheel, to get in there to the lug nut and get it off. Know that this socket has a snug fit. Okay, back to snug fit. Many lug nuts have a jacket on them, and if the lug nut is very tight, that jacket can spin off, and so your 20mm lug nut is no longer a 20mm lug nut. This is a socket. It's off-sized. One end is 19.5mm. If you were to spin the jacket off of a 20mm lug nut, you can get this socket on there. 18.5mm socket. If you had a 19mm lug nut and the jacket spun off, this is what you would use to get to it. I prefer to pitch those lug nuts, which I did, and just buy solid steel, so you don't have to deal with any of that trouble. And I had a young man spin the lug nuts off and spin them on. I said, just lightly, and then I'm going to do it. And he using impactor, and still I broke this tool. I broke a 3/8 drive breaker bar. These are not weak. There's no reason I should have broke this, because they were on too tight. My tool that I carry, this is a 1/2" drive breaker bar. I carry the socket that is perfect for the lug nuts, perfect size, tight fit. This gives me different angles to be able to get those lug nuts loose. That is my tool of choice. However, wherever your storage is in your storage compartments in your car, you may not want these bigger tools. Okay, worst case scenario is if you hit a road hazard, something that punctures your tire, and you are going to actually fix the tire in the field. This is a tire plugging kit. Okay, these plugs basically are kind of a piece of cord. It's saturated with a tar, glue, sticky. So I'm going to squeeze the end of that, and I'm going to flatten it so I can get it in this tool. I'm going to start it in the tool. It's like threading a needle. And I'm going to pull that cord through the tool. Now, the tool should be able to push this plug through the hole in the tire, and then you should be able to twist it, and when you pull the tool back out, it leaves the plug in the tire. If the hole in the tire is too small for the tool and the plug, plugging kits come with this little ream. It just sort of looks like a threaded screw that you can work that hole large enough to get the tire plug in there. I hope you don't have to do this in the field. Okay. Also, there are several brands of sealant, cans of sealant, that you can, for smaller holes, you can put in the tire, and you'll hear the propellant, and the sealant will be going in the tire, and as the tire spins around and such, the sealant goes through the hole and plugs the hole. Of course, the size hole that they will seal is pretty limited. Okay, like I say, rehearse this stuff at home, know what you have, so it doesn't shorten your weekend when you are out there. Okay, the last bit of technology that I sort of hate, but I understand it's very well-meaning and it's a safety feature, and that is there's a fuel pump cutoff relay, sometimes called an inertia switch. And when you bump, say you bumped a tree, anything that stopped the car suddenly, even I had one do it, it was just a hole, boom, the car stopped, and the inertia switch turns off the fuel pump, and of course you can't drive your car. The reason is that you get in a fender bender, you don't want your car pumping fuel all over as a fire hazard. So inertia switches may be, or fuel pump relays may be, the size of a little box of stick matches. I've seen them about the size of a deck of cards. There's a plunger on the relay, and so relays are normally located under the dashboard, and you can reach up there and find it and push the plunger and reset. Under the kick panel, the right side kick panel, which will be where your passenger's right ankle bumps, and you can pull that plastic panel off, push the plunger, reset the relay. Worst case scenario to me is when that relay is located in the back of the car, up in a frame rail near the gas tank. Maybe you can reach under there if you know where it is, and maybe you will have to jack up the car to reset the relay. Once you have reset the relay and you get in your car, you turn the key on, you may be able to hear the fuel pump run and then stop. I would do that 2 or 3 times so I know that the fuel pump is up to pressure, and then start the car. Fuel pump relay, fuel pump cutoff, inertia switch. I would go to an auto parts store and ask them as if you were buying one, and on the screen they may show you pictures of that relay for your car, so you know what it looks like when you have to find it. Last, communication devices. There's a big difference between leaving your car at the ranger station and leaving it at the end of a 2-track in the middle of nowhere. Don't count on cell phone signals everywhere. Because you're in remote areas, you probably won't have one. There's all kinds of little walkie-talkies, and I would look at the distance that they will transmit and see what's right for you, and consider a communication device that is most appropriate for you. Thank you from Lat 44 Outdoors, and I hope this stuff prevents you from losing a bunch of time on your weekend. Thanks.